Hello Alexes, it's Bunny Queen Gaming here, and we are going to be doing the racing video today. That is my horses North Star and Nor. They are the horses I will be riding today, and I'm just showing you their stats so you can get an understanding of why I score so high in my times, because even though they are lower levels, I am a max level player. You do not gain stat points after level 60, and my horses do have upgraded racing gear on. So if you are a newer player, you don't have upgraded gear yet, or you're a lower level, you will not score as high, but you will improve. The first race we're doing is the River Trail. It is right down from the barn. This race is introduced by Wendy at the very start of the game. This will be the first race you ever run, and I hope you enjoy. Purpose of this video is to show all the races, their locations, as well as their layouts, to help as a guide for newer people, and so that you can see the races and work on it and perfect how you race. The only race not included in this video is the one referred to as the Bond. It is a Chapter 5 race that, as of right now, we only are allowed to run once. It is not something we can go back and retry at this time. There will be no shortcuts shown in this video. That is not the purpose of this video. And not all races actually have them, but by learning the races, you will see areas where you can jump a fence or make a tighter turn or cut corners. And you will learn them as you go on and you play and you race. I do show the time board every time I finish a race, and that shows the current finishing time for the horse I'm on, as well as my high scores. The high scores were set by level 60 horses that I have, particularly Echo and Calypso, as I do not have Storm fully completed gear-wise at this time, so I am not using him at the moment to hit top scores. Keep this video pretty clean and to try to shorten down the length of this video because it's pretty long, I am doing the races by zones. Basically, I'm starting by town. I'm going to move north into the small farms, up to the fishing village. We're going to do the lighthouse island, and then we're going to head to the mountains and do those clusters. And then we're going to do the far side farms all the way down to the center. We are currently starting the Alderwood lap. This is introduced to us by Heather. Early on, it should be before Chapter 3 or around that area. It does have a lot of jumps. So, well, as far as upgrading, I don't think you really need the jump stat to do this well. Just simply have a fairly decent agility if you're a lower level. See if you have that. There are some races that require a lot more agility. As you saw from my horse stats, they don't really have a very high agility. They are not wearing tack that's made for them, so their agility is kind of lower, but it all just varies on how you upgrade their gear, and you're more than welcome to switch out pieces as you need, because some races are different and they require different stats to do well. We're not going to continue with the town races. There is 3 more. This is the river loop. It is fairly straightforward. It just requires a lot of running, sprinting. So if you've watched my upgrading video, it's good to have a total of 1,005 fitness and endurance. That is horse and rider added together. So if your horse naturally has about 400 or 500, And Alex has like 400 naturally without gear on. And is at her max level, and so you would only need to add about 115. However, you may have to go up as much as 200 in points fitness on her in order to hit that threshold of at that slightly over 1,000. You don't want to upgrade more than you need to. You don't want to waste slots. Now, a lot of places and races, strength is very good to have, so you want to have that often, not as much as you can, and not like have to rotate that out for another stat. However, some races don't really need that because they're fairly flat, where you could just swap it out for agility instead. However, I have found out that a lot of people, if they don't need endurance on the horse, they just swap that out for the agility instead of losing the strength. This race ends right outside of town, over by Kathy's house. So we are going to go back into town and go over by the tavern for the beer run. Now, as you start off learning the race and starting out doing all the races with no upgraded gear and being lower levels, any horse and any level player can do these races, but you will see a drastic change in your times as you improve and level up and upgrade gear. Levels are, in some cases, just as important because gear can only get you so far, where maxing out your levels actually can finish off that by a good amount. Now, as far as the beer run, it requires a good fitness and endurance, rather, because it matters on both. But also, there's a lot of uphill. I think it's halfway through the race. The rest of it is all uphill, pretty much. And so having a good strength is very good for this race, because strength does not just affect the uphill penalty, but it also affects how quickly you accelerate and you hit max speed. So it does help there, and it can make a big difference. If I ran this race with Calypso or Storm, you'd see a drastic change in the times, even not in good gear. Beer run does end up in the mountains, basically in the middle of nowhere. So to finish the last of the races that are in town, we're going to go back to town to do station to station. It is over by the stables, over by Thomas. This race, some people think, is one of the most evil in this game. It is a really long time. Newer players will probably be doing this in over 4 minutes, where top 5 people, I think, are doing it about 3 minutes flat. So, but this is a really long race. It requires the strength. It requires the fitness. You will be going long rides, and you will be going uphill for a good part of it. So, it makes a difference to have those stats when you are able to get them. The whole point is to have fun. You don't want to be so hyper-focused on getting perfect gear that you don't have fun. I am doing all of these races simply to show them. I am not gaining experience or silver for doing these races right now, as I had already finished my weeklies. Now, you don't have to go through and do all these races like I'm doing, because unless you simply want to test your scores and see how you improve and set the times, it's not going to really make any difference. You want to do the races that their signs on the map or gold colored, because that's when you get experience and silver. That is all of the town races. We're now going to head north out of town over towards the small farms. We're going to hit the coastal run, the blacksmith, downhill run, and then we are going to head over to do the fisherman's folly that is in the fishing village. We are also going to go over and do the lighthouse climb before we move on to the mountains. Coastal is fairly straightforward. You just basically run and sprint. Blacksmith does have some jumps, but it's fairly straightforward and pretty easy. Downhill run is probably going to give people a hard time, especially early on. It's all downhill. There are jumps, and you need a lot of agility to make the tighter turns. And Fisherman's Volley does have jumps, but it's fairly straightforward. You don't really need a lot of endurance or fitness for either of those races. Now, Lighthouse Climb is pretty much all uphill. There are a couple jumps, so that'll help you conserve some of your stamina, but you want to have strength. You want to try to have strength, and you want to try to have a decent stamina that's endurance and fitness. And that was Fisherman's Folly. We are now going to swap horses. We are going to jump onto Nor, the Arabian, and we are going to go head over to do the lighthouse climb now. I will be riding Nor for the rest of the video. I wanted to show off both new horses, so I hope you enjoy seeing them. We are now going to head over to do the cluster that's in the mountains. That is Mine Descent, Mine Climb, Radio Tower, and Swamp Circuit. Mine Descent is pretty easy. It is basically all downhill. There are some turns. They're not too sharp. So it's pretty straightforward, and you can usually get it done in around a minute or so once you get decent in your leveling and hack. I do some time skips to try to keep the video short because there is a lot of travel involved with getting up here. We are now going to ride down the pass, past the mushrooms, to the mine climb, due to the fact it's a very short race, and it ends over by the start of the radio tower. It is all uphill, so strength is very important. There are some jumps, so I don't think stamina is that big of an issue here, as long as you have a decent speed, some agility, as well as the strength. Radio Tower is one of the longest races. Station to station is the longest, with, I think, Radio Tower taking slightly longer than the Delivery of the Roses. They are the longest races in game as far as times it takes to do them. Now, as far as the Radio Tower, mostly fitness. However, some strength is required as you do kind of go. There is some hills, and it's just a good stat to have overall. A lot of the top riders don't really invest in jumping. If you really need to be able to jump better, agility is the way to go, because that affects your ability to turn as well as your ability to jump. However, there are no jumps in Radio Tower. It's all just running. Okay, with Radio Tower out of the way, we are going to head south and cut through the ruins where the Raven Feathers are in order to do Swamp Circuit. Swamp Circuit is a fast little race. You are going downhill. There is one jump But for the most part, you just need the stamina and just to go through. The turns aren't too tight, so I don't know if you really need a lot of agility here. I was able to do it just fine without issue, even on my Frajans with no ability boost. That is it for all the mountain-based races. We are going to be heading far east on that side to the farms. The races are spaced out. We are starting at the Old Williams Orchard. We are going to head north over by Derek's and do the farmland jump, and then we're going to do the farmland loop. The farmland jump has a lot of jumps. Even if you have a low stamina, if you can do well and get perfect scores on your jumping, you will get boosts where you can sprint for a while for most of the races as a starting player. There's not really a lot of sharp turns or anything like that to worry about, so it's a matter of simply having the stamina, or at least high enough stamina that you don't run out while you sprint. Strength would help you get going and keep up your high speed. Riding my level 60s, even the ones with lower endurance, with decent gear, they do not run out of stamina in this race simply by getting good on the jumps. To boost the jumping, you could have some points in agility. You don't need a whole lot of strength because you are not going uphill, but it would help you with your acceleration and keeping up high speed. Okay, this is the farmland loop. It is over by Old Williams. That's the signboard we passed a minute ago. It's fairly straightforward. You just basically, for the most part, just need the stamina. There's no jumps. The turns aren't too sharp, so it's a fairly easy race to do. It is now time for the delivery to the roses. It is a long race. It will take you from Old Will's Orchard all the way down to Rose Manor. It's basically just having the stamina to keep it up and keep sprinting. You want to try to sprint as much as possible. When you do sprint, as soon as that bar is high enough to sprint, you want to release the button and press it again so you can keep sprinting. There's only one jump, and that is near the end on the beach. But for the most part, it's straightforward. There's not a lot of turns, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of being able to keep up the speed and run. There's not really any hills. Now, across from the gates to Rose Manor is the Forest Weave. This is probably one of the last races you will ever get a gold with, because of the fact this is a difficult race. Even though it's really short, you should be able to do it in under a minute, but it needs a whole lot of agility. Even riding with my level 60, if I did not have at least 1200 agility and control, I suffered a lot, and you're going to find it a lot harder to do with a Frajan with less agility. You want to have as much agility as you can, but of course, simply altering the gear is what makes the most difference here, because any horse can be used to race. It is, for the most part, all uphill, so you also want to have strength. But with all of the jumps and the tight turns, you really don't need the stamina, because you can get the stamina boost to sprint from the jumps. So you don't have to worry about that there, so you could put any necessary stamina points that you had for other races and agility for this one. Now right here is probably where you're going to get stuck. As you see, I lag and I get a penalty here. It tacks on 4 seconds. That rock catches a lot of people, and if you don't have the right agility, you are going to get caught there, and it could mess up your time. You want to try to take that last spot as tight as you can. Now, the last race is the White Rock Ridge Ascent. It is down by the Rehabilitation Center by Philip. I used a teleport to get here because it's a bit of a ride from Rose Manor. For the White Rock Ridge Ascent, there is a bit of uphill, so strength would be kind of a must here. There are some tighter turns and some jumps mixed in, so agility, a decent agility would be really good here to help you. You don't need, thanks to the jumps, you don't need a whole bunch of stamina. You could get away with that by just utilizing the jumps to help you. Some of these areas you can get caught on the rocks. If you run too close to some of the cliff ledges, your horse, if your auto jump is on, your horse is going to spaz out, like Nora's going to do in a second here. A lot of people advise not using auto jump. I do it out of habit because I like the experience. It makes the horse feel a bit more alive. I hate always getting caught or snagged on small little objects that normally a horse would be able to step over. So normally I do have my auto jump on. And sometimes that can mess up my times, but when I'm going for top scores, I will turn it off to simply avoid that issue. But it's simply a matter of your preference. If you're looking to get top of the leaderboards, challenging the elites, you want to use the tips and tricks that are particularly well known. Oliver Foxworth has a racing sheet. It is a document he posted on the Discord. It's been shared around. I've shown it or had the URL link in previous videos. I will include it again in this one to help you. That is all the races, and I hope this video helps you as you try to become better racers. Enjoy my Alex's, and praise be.